Welcome back to the Viewpoints podcast. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Shawn, sitting here with Pastor John. You are back in the captain's chair of the podcast after being overseas for a little bit. So I think New York and Norway were both on your itinerary. So what were some highlights from your trip?
Yeah, we had a great time, family, for a couple of days in New York, and that went really well. Got to see a couple of shows there on Broadway. That was fun. And then Atlin was leading a women's conference at a church that we partner with there in Norway. And she led that conference, and then I had the opportunity to go with the pastor up north to the Arctic Circle, something I've always wanted to do. So I think a highlight was just kind of getting snowed on 4 or 5 times, and we had some great experiences as far as, just we were kind of chasing the northern lights a little bit, which didn't happen because it was snowing and there was too many clouds, but it was just a great time to be up there. Real different kind of, I think, what people would think of maybe Alaska or something like that. So it's real similar to that.
Yeah, very cool. Well, from what I've heard, it was a great trip. It has been great having you back, especially this Sunday with our Palm Sunday leading up towards Holy Week and Easter. And so today, as we talk about what Palm Sunday meant for Jesus entering as King, we see some interesting stuff going on in the backstory. So, John, why don't you start to unpack that for us?
Yeah, let's just talk about the backstory. Now, Shawn, I'm interested for you. You grew up in church. The church you grew up in, do you have much memories of like what was Palm Sunday? Was it highlighted? Was it not highlighted? At my church, I don't think it was. I don't remember any highlights. It might have been, but I don't remember any.
Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know, I grew up in a Methodist church, and that's where my family still goes. And it was definitely highlighted. We did the very similar to what people saw at Crestview on Sunday, was with the children participating with the palm branches. And the Methodist church keeps more of kind of the Christian yearly calendar with Lent and Ash Wednesday and things like that. And I remember as part of the youth group, after Palm Sunday, we would burn the palm branches, and they would be the ashes that would be used next year on Ash Wednesday. So it was definitely a highlighted thing.
Wow. They had,
We definitely talked about it.
So and I'm probably going to say some words wrong because I'm still a little bit jet lagged. If we burned our palm branches from Sunday, I think that's a biohazard. I'm not sure.
I think it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. Now, I can't remember if we ended up getting real ones though.
They're real. Yeah.
They were real. So I guess we could have done the ashes, but anyway, a little backstory on Palm Sunday, because I think for sometimes it is not for I think the average person, it's just like, oh, it's almost Easter. That's all it means. It's almost Easter. So, it's the Sunday before Easter. Okay. But very significant event as we think about Jesus being King and Jesus being Lord and the triumphal entry as we talk about him going to Jerusalem. So the backstory is, I think, real important. You have this huge festival that's called Passover, and the population goes 6 times as big. So it's just packed with people. And the political situation, it's pretty much a powder keg because the Romans are worried that there's going to be some kind of uprising, some insurrection, something going on. And so they're real concerned about that. And kind of we have some historical records about how that they're like, bring more soldiers in. We got to be ready to deal with whatever might happen. So it's kind of everybody's on a little bit on edge as they come into the town for Passover. And so Jesus, on purpose, makes an entrance, which is not, I don't remember a whole lot of Jesus doing that. When you think about, I'm going to go into Jericho and let's put out some, advanced publicity. I don't think he did much of that, but this time he did. He comes in and there's a lot of opinions about him at this point. And the question, it all revolves around one question. Is he the Messiah? Is he not the Messiah? And I think some think he is, but then they immediately go, well, it's coming down then. He's going to take on the Romans and get rid of the Romans, and let's go to battle. He's going to take over. He's the Messiah. There's that viewpoint. Then there's the viewpoint of, it's not him. It's just not him. I don't think anybody has the right viewpoint, hardly. The disciples don't. that he is, yes, he is the Messiah, but he's not coming in like they think he is. He's coming in as a king, but not like they think he would as a king. So that's all unpacked in the story. So let me read the passage. This is John 12. This is verses 12 through 19. So here's what it says. The next day, the great crowd that had come for the festival heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. They took palm branches, went out to meet him, shouting, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel. Now, I'll pause right there. I can read through that and go, okay, no big deal. He's the King of Israel. Wait, and the Romans were going, whoa, wait a minute. Did you hear what they're calling Jesus? He's the King. So this is, red flags flying that they would say this. Jesus found a young donkey, sat on it as written, do not be afraid, daughter Zion. See, your king is coming, seated on a donkey's colt. And at first, his disciples did not understand all this. Only after Jesus was glorified did they realize that these things had been written about him and that these things had been done to him. Now the crowd that was with him when he called Lazarus from the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to spread the word. So there's all that talk. They're talking it up. Many people, because they had heard he had performed this sign, went out to meet him. And so the Pharisees said to one another, see, this is getting us nowhere. Look how the whole world has gone after him. So basically, you've got, I think one of the first things we got to understand or remind ourselves about is this is a significant event and how it goes down. It goes down with people gathering. There's people coming together. And so the Romans have got to be concerned at this point. And he's declaring himself as king in riding into town. That's what a king did. So a couple things about Jesus as king I think we talk about. One of them is he forces the issue. And basically that is, okay, I'm the king. Am I your king? What kind of king am I? And I think he's forcing that issue with what's going on. We're going to talk about how he comes in, what he's riding, but that's another part of the puzzle here. But I do think, I always default to that C.S. Lewis quote about, what do you guys about Jesus? Either he's a lunatic, a liar, or he's who he said he was. So you kind of got that kind of thing Jesus is doing as he's coming in and doing all that. So what has your take always been on the palm branches? Why palm branches? Why? It's not a ticker tape parade kind of a thing. It's palm branches. What was the deal about that?
Yeah, I honestly have never given it a ton of thought. It was kind of like the way that I've thought of it is kind of preparing the way for him of we're going to go and make this as big of a deal as we can, but also, we're not going and waving swords around.
Yeah.
But it describes that some of them are, taking their coats off to lay on the path, or they're waving the palm branches. So I always saw this as like kind of worshipful. I think about when somebody's waving a palm branch, it's like the stereotypical, the Pharaoh is sitting there and has one servant fanning him with a palm branch.
Fanning them with it.
I don't know if it's kind of a royal, like this is something you do for royalty is you fan them on a warm day. But if there's something deeper than that,
I think you got it. I think it was just what was done. It was obviously easy to grab some. Not like we had to order some,
right?
Ahead of time. They're right there, and so it was just one of those things that kind of started as a tradition, and they kept on doing it. I think it was just, this kind of welcoming, honoring royalty kind of thing. But I think, it reminded me about Revelation chapter 3, those verses 15 and 16 that talk about either be hot or cold, not lukewarm. And I do think Jesus forces the issue. He did that, but I think he does that today. I think he says, the only thing I don't want you to do is just like me. You're a good guy, Jesus. I might be even pray to you every once in a while, but that's the one thing he says I do not want. I want to force the issue to say, okay, either I'm your king or I'm nothing to you. And I don't know. I think most people, that's not real comfortable. for the average person to be kind of put in that corner, so to speak, of, well, no, I'm not, they might even be for Jesus. They may say, I don't think about Jesus. He's really nothing to me. There's all kind of things there, but it's interesting that this is a forcing event.
Yeah,
for sure. And he does it on purpose.
yeah. I think coming in a very robust way is forcing the issue. I mean, he's forcing the Pharisees to pay attention. He's forcing the crowds to pay attention. He's forcing the Romans to pay attention. And, like you said, you have to make a response to who he is as he comes in this way. But as you talk about him riding into town as a king, that's something a king would do. I can't imagine many kings and rulers picked a donkey's colt
Right.
as as their steed of choice. And so, this shows Jesus in a different light, I think probably than people expected too. So, I mean, we see Jesus forcing the issue, but also, I mean, if you think about the king to overthrow the Romans, I think about riding like a rhinoceros in armor or something, not like a donkey's colt. So, Pastor John, what do you think is the reason for that? Where's this teaching us about Jesus?
Yeah, I think he forces the issue, and he is the king, but he also comes as the servant, and in a servant's role, and kind of it's this mixed picture of, wait a minute, why isn't he on this rhinoceros with armor? That would have been pretty impressive. Great PR. But it really is a true picture of Christianity, and when no other religion has anything like that, where it is that we have a king, but he comes to seek and to save and to serve, and the greatest is those who serve. And he came to give his life. No other religion has that. They might have one picture. They might have the riding the donkey colt part of it, like a very humble person, a very, very simple, always cared about other people. You have that picture, or you have the one who's the king picture. But we have both pictures, which is very unique to Christianity and very much, I think, a key part of the picture that we're supposed to get out of Palm Sunday. And I do want to just point out to everybody that's listening that it is a fulfillment of prophecy, though, too, of Zechariah 9:9. And it says this: "Rejoice, daughter Zion, rejoice, shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, on the foal of a donkey." So you had this predicted, that this is going to be, and I'm sure when people over the years read this, they went, that's not happening. I mean, it's such a unbelievable picture. But I do think, and I read this somewhere along the way, that I love this statement that Jesus riding on a donkey's colt is this visual picture of the gospel. That, sin is when we put ourselves as king of our own lives, of our own world. But salvation is when the king puts himself in the place of a servant. And that's what Jesus has come to do. So you have some of that also in this picture of the triumphal entry. So it's a powerful picture on Palm Sunday. And I think one thing that we can talk about, I think, is the idea of Jesus as this king that transforms everything. I do think the idea of kingship, and we have to pick our king, and everyone has a king, is really a foundational part of Palm Sunday and what's going on here. But he's also the one that transforms everything. And I would just say to everyone, those that are listening, this is a great week to be preparing yourself spiritually for Easter. And it really does start with the significant event of Palm Sunday, that he is the one who truly brings light. He is the light of the world. And we have this opportunity for him to be each person's king. I mean, we all have to choose about that. But if we do, he will set us free. But I think also, which went along with the sermon Sunday, it's an all-in proposition. It's the pearl of great price. You're going to sell everything you got to get something that's worth more than what you had, but still it's going to take it all.
Mhm.
So it's an all-in kind of picture for sure. So to me, that's one of the keys of the triumphal entry. Is it's a all-in. Is Jesus your king, and are you all in on that or not?
Yeah. Well, man, what a great way to leave it for the listener. Are you going to be all in? Is he fully the king? And so, Pastor John, thank you so much for your wisdom on Palm Sunday, for helping us understand Jesus as the king and the servant. To the listener, we hope that this has helped you this week. And as Pastor John said, prepare your heart. We want to invite you to join us as part of our Good Friday services that are coming up later this week online. And we hope that you will invite somebody and join us for Easter Sunday as well. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.